Genshin Impact, one of the most colorful and just beautifully designed games that I've ever seen, and it's one of the best in the genre. Well, was one of the best, but I will say as time goes on for this game, it's starting to show that it's slowly falling off. Now, a lot of people may not agree, but I feel like this game is starting to slowly decline due to the fact that it doesn't really have any quality of life being applied. We're nearly in the fourth year of this game, and we've seen the bare minimum for quality of life. And in a game where it's constantly increasing its characters and expanding on the regions and all of that stuff, I think by now we should have already had some very, very important adjustments, especially considering that everything in this game has become RNG. Well, which is to be expected. It's a gotcha game, but at the same time, it's really bad. Like, not only do you have to farm your artifacts, but you also have to hope that the right one falls from the clear. You also have to hope that you get the right main stat. You have to hope that you get the right sub stats. You have to hope that those sub stats actually level up the right way. And you only get 160 resin to properly build said characters with said stuff. So you could use all of your resin on artifacts and not even get what you want. And then you can condense five of the other kind, like the condensed resin. You can do five of those. Even then, they don't really help because at the same time, you still have to rely on the RNG. And I guess, like I said, it's expected. Whatever. I just feel like they need to improve that drop rate and the stat rate, or better yet, actually listen to the actual players instead of taking it into their own hand and saying, oh, this is what they want, when clearly we have stated what we wanted. But without further ado, I'm Tay, and I'm here to give you my opinion on this. And that is a very long thing, but you know what? It's okay. However, not only will I give my opinion, which pretty much what I just did, I am also going to give the opinion of many other players. I took the time to ask around of some people that I knew who play the game, who used to play the game but they quit, or people who are new to the game and have managed to form an opinion based off of what they've experienced. So, without any more waiting, let's get into that because I have a slew of responses. Now, for the sake of being anonymous, I will refer to all of them as traveler, but I will also put like numbers behind them. So 1, 2, 3, like that. And then I'll also state whether or not they're a person who has been playing for a while by calling them a veteran, or I'll state whether they're new or they're someone who quit, something simple. Anyways, so I asked them a series of questions, but the main thing I wanted to get across was for them to state what they hated, or not really hated, but they disliked, liked, and felt kind of neutral but could be improved on about the game. That being said, the first traveler. This traveler is a vet. Now, some of them have a lot of points, so I will try my best not to make it too long. I did receive a lot of responses though, so I feel like this is going to end up having to be more than one part. Regardless, here we go. First traveler. They stated that there are a lot of things to improve on and made some quick points stating that we need better rewards, better quality of life, actual in-game, and so on and so forth. This one really wasn't too long. The next one, though, is pretty long. They also said that they treat their players, and I quote, Genshin Impact treats its players like shit. 3 rewards for anniversary. Well, and by anniversary they mean Lantern Rite, that anniversary. And I have to agree, is the Genshin Impact rewards as of late have been kind of horrible. And it makes it feel almost as if we're not as appreciated for supporting this game. So at this point, it's just in anybody's hands on what happens here. You can try to boycott the game, but I really don't think that's going to get you too far. It might serve a purpose for like a brief moment, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to do much at all because there'll always be new people playing it. So no matter how many people boycott the game, there's going to be new people going onto it. This it's just how it is. Now, the second traveler, they are also a vet. They have positive, neutral, and negative opinions. So this one will definitely be a little bit lengthy, but I'll try to make it as simplified as possible. Um, the first one is the gameplay is fun at its essence, and the team building is a good concept. Now, I have to agree that the team building is a good concept. I like the fact that we have to build certain characters to work with others. However, I also dislike the fact that we have to do that. Mostly because it puts you in a situation of, oh, all of my faves can't work together. Like I myself have several faves that I can't get to actually work with each other because they just don't work. Like imagine Lenny and Sino working together. I don't think it would happen. The second point is they have wonderful concepts, good world building, and beautiful environments. Yeah, yeah, I guess you could, yeah. The third point being most characters are well thought out and have an actual personality to it. Now, in the sense of that, I'm gonna say some characters are, myself in my personal opinion, some characters have a actual personality. Now some of them feel kind of stereotypical, so I'm not gonna put any more thought into that because fourth point that they made, and it's the character designs and the way they move clearly show care and thought. Now that can apply for some characters, again, but there are some characters who you can tell that they really didn't put too much thought in. Now I do know that the characters in 1.0 didn't have as much, of a funding, I'm gonna say, in terms of animation. But I mean, you've been out for nearly 4 years now. You can go back and fix that if you really wanted to, in my opinion. Alright, so this person's negative, well, this traveler's negatives were the team building is ruined by needing particular elements for things and having characters that are objectively worse than others in every capacity. Now, yes, absolutely. It is absolutely not very good. Point two. Even if you find a character you like, you are not guaranteed to have them be useful, viable, or usable on a team of other favorites, or even at all in some cases. That falls back to character, like how I said with, if you wanted to put, in my opinion, it falls back to how I said if you wanted to put Lenny with Sino, they wouldn't work together because they don't mix. You have to put Sino since he's like a main DPS, and I like to think that Lenny is a main DPS. I'm pretty sure he is. But if you put them two together, then it's kind of just like, oh, well, you have the DPS, but you don't really have the support to keep your reactions and all that stuff. So, yeah, I agree with that take 100%. Number 3. It's impossible, without spending way too much money, to get the character you want to be the strongest they can be, making this a fully pay-to-win game, making it forever feel like a quote-unquote free trial even after paying money. Now, in that sense, I feel kind of like, in a way, yeah, it's like that, because you can't get your character to be the absolute best until you get like their sixth constellation. Anything after that, you're just kind of making do with what you have. But in order to do that, you would either have to save from this year to the next year to be able to save enough like free to play pools to at least guarantee yourself a C6 character. But that also will also depend on how well your luck is when it comes to doing your pools, because if you lose your 50-50, then you may still end up having to put money into it, and that can be draining. I personally don't like the way that that works, because you essentially are going to need around 180, 190 pulls just to make sure that you're guaranteed. Anything lower than that, and you're just banking on your luck. So, Number 4, after ascending your overworld to higher levels, it makes any new character you want to play unplayable until you spend more time to grind them up with another character, making the new one feel like a burden to even, get to a usable state. Yes, I share that because I've noticed here lately, whenever new characters come out, it actually feels like a full blown grind to even get them to that point where they can hold their own in a fight, or it feels like a chore really, and I just absolutely cannot. I can't do it. It's horrible. And so I sympathize with how this person's feeling about this. Anytime you get a new character, it's literally just that rinse and repeat thing. And if it's a character where they're locked behind a new region, say bye bye to pre-farming, because pre-farming just isn't going to happen. Like, let's see, we could use here a Cloud Retainer, or Xin Yuan, or however you pronounce her name. Use her as a prime example. Yeah, you could get some of her stuff, but like the larger quantity stuff, like the Jade, it was locked behind a whole new region, and her boss mats were locked behind a whole new region. Well, not even a region, more of an expansion. It was locked behind that. We couldn't get anything going there, so you literally had to spend all of your resin on getting her boss drops, which again falls back to RNG, because you may get 3, you may get 2. Why can't we have what we have in Honkai Star Rail, where if you're a certain level, then you're guaranteed to get 5? It just makes sense, and it saves people a lot of grind time, and they can also put more effort into doing the other stuff, and would also incentivize them to build more characters, you know? Now this traveler's neutral opinions were a way to earn any character anytime in a consistent way. The gacha system would be greatly improved. And I feel kind of like, and I hate to do this, but I've seen how Wuthering Waves does their characters, at least in the beta, and I truly feel like Genshin could benefit from doing that. Like, you get a character, cool. You can get their first 2 cons by, accumulating so many pools in the shop. And then after that, you just have to get the character by doing pulls. And honestly, it's a fair way to do it, because it incentivizes you to, oh, well, here, let me keep pulling. And by the time you have enough to get those 2 constellations from the shop, then you would have already put in enough money to practically get your character to maybe C3, C4. So at the end of the day, you're still coming out on a good end, because not only are the consumers getting what they want, but the company themselves are also getting what they're wanting. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking a little too fair. They also went on to state that if they make it so getting repeats of characters after they are maxed out actually gave something of substance, or didn't happen at all, it would make me more willing to pull a banner with one 5 star I want, and 3 to 4 stars, 3 to 4 stars I already have maxed. And yeah, because as it currently stands, when you get a copy of a character that who you've already had C6, you literally don't get anything to really amount to nothing. Yeah, you get like 20 of the what, stellar star glitter, I believe is what it's called. You get 20 of that. But is it 20? 20 for 5 stars or 10 for, anyway, you get a certain amount, and aside from that, it really provides you nothing. And that's not even enough to actually give you back what you actually put into the pool. So, in my opinion, and I'm still sitting on that, increase our resin cap to 240, because again, this game is nearly 4 years old. By now, we should have access to that. By now, we should be able to have that 240 cap. By now, we should be able to farm any of the domain mats that we want any day. We shouldn't have to be able to we shouldn't have to wait until Sunday to be able to have all mats available on the same day. They literally could just do that for any day. And as far as the weekly bosses go, simple. Say you want to farm one boss. Well, making it to where a person can claim from this boss once a week, and you're not even guaranteed to get the piece that you want, nor are you guaranteed to get a dream solvent to convert the pieces that you want, is a little bit messed up. Because what are you gonna get from this? What are you getting from that? You're not getting the growth for the character that you're trying to grow, you're trying to build. You're not getting anything from that. You're basically just wasting your time if you don't get anything. It's disappointing. And you can't force it if you don't have Dream Solvent. So, honestly, they need to wait. They need to change what they're doing. They need to make it to where, oh hey, you can claim from this boss 3 times at a discounted price, but afterwards you can't claim from the bosses anymore. Totally fine. I'd be okay with that. 100% would be okay with that. 100%. But somehow I don't think they're going to do that, and I feel like I'm just wasting my time saying it. The third traveler gave a positive and neutral, and then an area where they needed to be improved on. And they stated in their first one, this is the positives. They stated that character lore is phenomenal. Every character shows investment and time into their own story. That's okay. I mean, Chi-Chi kind of begs to differ there, because we don't know jack shit about Chi-Chi at all, aside from the fact that she's like dead and some stuff happened to her years ago. But we don't know anything about her. She doesn't have a character story. So I feel like if they took enough time, instead of adding more character stories to these new people, let's finish adding the character stories for the characters we already have, because we still don't know a thing about Chi-Chi. Main story and plot has improved since the beginning. This is 100% accurate. At the very beginning in Mondstadt, the story was complete garbage. Now I get that it is I treat Mondstadt as a tutorial region, because that's where they're teaching you everything and you're getting familiar with the controls and the pacing of the game. I treat Mondstadt as a tutorial region. Now some people may say otherwise, but I feel like it's a tutorial region, and the story there was actually really slow and boring. Aside from the part where you're doing the Valen fight, the story there was actually just not very entertaining at all. And I believe that's partially why I got bored of it within the first few weeks of me playing it, and I ended up taking a really long break from the game, because I started the game right around the time it came out, maybe a couple days after, and I played for maybe a week or two, and then I just stopped and didn't play the game anymore until like the last bit of Albedo's banner leading into Zhongli's first run. So yeah. The third point is overall better and more interactive gameplay compared to Star Rail. And I can see why they say that. I can see why they say that. Team building seems more relaxed and easier to coordinate, giving you more options to build how you want, rather than forcing what's necessary for combat, exceptions being Abyss Mages and Heralds. Yeah, because the Abyss Mages have the little shield and the Heralds have their little extra shield when you kill them. So yeah, I see what you're saying. The fourth point, beautiful overworld, with each region having clear, accurate representation of cultures, making it all unique and diverse. Yeah, yeah, I'm a little, I'm kind of iffy on what they're gonna do with Natlin, because it's really concerning, but we'll see. Um, their neutral points. Grinding for good artifacts can be tedious. This falls back to what I was saying in a way that when you're grinding for artifacts and stuff, it's literally just so time consuming and it feels like a chore. And you're not even then doing all of that. Let's say you had over your cap limit and you had maybe 500 resin. You 500 resin over, your cap being 160 and you had 500. So you spend all of that just on artifacts alone. You may walk away with maybe 4 good pieces out of that entire run. Maybe, and that's depending on if they even roll the way you want them to roll. So I'm just saying. It feels very, very overdone with the RNG, because even the strong boxes, yeah, you use your bad ones, but it takes so many bad ones to even amount to the few that they give you. And even the ones that we get from the strong boxes are complete RNG. You're not guaranteed one piece of all of them, and even then you still have to worry about the stats, you still have to worry about the substats. It's just bad. It's bad. The second point is some teleport nodes are not in ideal spots relative to events, farming, or commission locations. I feel that way, but I more so felt that way when it came to the desert region of Sumeru. Now that region, completely extra. It felt like even teleporting to the teleport nodes were not helpful enough. That's how bad it felt. And I for one found the desert boring. I'm just saying. It was boring, and I feel like they could have, you could have argued that I could have put like a temporary teleport thing down, but it's a commission. They're not always going to be the same ones, and whenever they were in the desert, I actually hated it. Because even when you teleport there, you still have to run for a while before you even get there. That's using a person who has the fancy mobility skills. So their improvements stated that they would like an increase in resin to 240, which, okay, I love that. I agree, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would agree too. Additionally, increase the number of condensed resin we may hold to match the resin cap. Yeah, because as it currently stands, the condensed resin, you only can hold 5, but it doesn't match the amount of resin that you get, and I think you still end up with like 20 resin left. Just random 20 resin, not even enough for you to do anything with. So I feel like they, on top of increasing the cap, they also need to increase the condensed resin amount to actually fit that, because when they do those double things, the double drop rate events for ley lines, or even so much as like the talent books and all that stuff, it would be really helpful. Because you can claim it with your regular resin to get the double stuff, but then you still have that condensed resin you can use to still keep getting the double stuff. And I would like to also add on top of that we need an adventure rank increase. I'm just saying. The second point for the improvements is that the 50% discount of weekly bosses gets increased from 3 uses to 4 uses to make an even result of leftover resin. I don't really have an opinion on that one. I kind of agree, but that's really. The third point is allow the ability to farm a single weekly boss multiple times, up to 3 times per week for rewards. Again, I was literally saying the same thing, Make it more friendly towards the new characters. You're constantly pumping out new characters, and guess what? Every single new character that comes out after a single boss, like a single new weekly boss, is gonna need it. So what if I want these characters? Well, guess what? I can't use them all when I'm ready to use them all because I'm stuck farming your stuff week after week because I can only claim from this boss one time. And I'm pretty sure they feel the same way. So, like, come on, Hoyo, make some changes. I know you can do it because the Star Rail dev team are literally just running over the Genshin dev team. And it's embarrassing, to be honest. A game that hasn't even been out for a full year yet is running over a game that's been out for almost 4 years. Let's get serious. And you can make the argument that it's an open world game. That doesn't matter, okay? Plenty of open world games can, show that they appreciate their players. That's all I'm saying. Number 4. Make the quote-unquote warming bottle gadget non-consumable. Now, I never really used the warming bottle because I'm never really in the cold areas like that, but I can imagine it would be kind of annoying going and having to constantly craft one of those bottles because you're in the cold area trying to do what you're trying to do. So, yeah, that's fair. I can imagine if anyone who's needing stuff from there for the weapons or anything like that, that constant cold effect can be pretty annoying. So, yeah. Number 5, make a way to obtain past event weapons and items. Yes, because if you're a new character, this is a bad issue. Genshin, I won't say the game, but the devs kind of feel more like they're forcing FOMO on the player. Because if you aren't playing the game when this happens, well, guess what? Then you miss it. And it's not even limited to just the weapons. You miss out on important lore, the crowns, which are what you need to ascend your character's talents to level 10. You literally can't get them unless it's like in an event. So you can't even use your character to its full potential unless you were playing when this event was going on to get the said crown. And you need 3 of them for each character. Come on, people. Come on. This 6th point, improve on existing characters. It's to synergize better with others. Example, Xingqiu and Yalan's burst need to be able to be used with Dihia's burst. And I can see that because technically Dihia is still attacking. So their burst effects should still they should still perform what they're supposed to do. So, the 7th point for improvement is instead of making the optimized path require 3 total 5-star wishes to get the weapon, have it be a redeemable currency. This would make it so much easier and convince people to pull on that banner. Because as it is, it's not very banner pull friendly. Like you'd end up having to use a lot of money if you were to pull on that banner. Unless you're just really lucky. Because it's actually a ripoff. I'm sorry, but the weapon banner, I will stand by this, is a ripoff, and it always has been. The 8th point, create less filler content or repetitive dialogue. Yeah, because like with this new patch coming up, 4.5, I just can't do it. It's so time consuming just to sit through a filler patch and then not actually care, and it just kind of like speeds up the burnout. Like I myself kind of feel burnt out, and I'm planning to take a break, possibly next week from this game, from Genshin, because I just feel burnt out. So, their 9th point, more ways to obtain leveling mats for weapons and artifacts. And yes, because it's really not enough now. Their 10th point, Nymph's set needs clear indication of its stacks that you've made. Their 11th point, more male models, small boy model to counter the characters like Klee and Yao Yao, etc., etc. Possibly, include a muscular male type to fit the characters that would be best with it. Personally, I still feel like Ito should have been one of those kind of characters. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Traveler 4, who was also a vet, they stated that the devs and the producers need to work on their transparency. Majority of Genshin players have been asking for specific quality of life, and that quality of life goes straight to other games such as Honkai Star Rail. We were asking for the resin increase, and it just Star Rail got everything that we asked for. We asked for a customized artifact main stat thing, and guess what? Star Rail got it. I don't know. It seems like we're sending these surveys in to the wrong team. I don't know. They also feel like we need a resin cap increase and a reserved resin. Similar to how Star Rail does it, because I know Star Rail has the, you have your regular, I think they call it Trailblaze power, and then you have your other, as I was saying, you have your regular, I think it was like your Trailblaze power, and then you have your other Trailblaze power, which is like the reserved kind, and your regular goes up to like 240, and then your reserved, I think, caps at 2,400, which makes it really easy for you to be able to farm stuff when you run out of your regular stuff. And we've been asking for something like that with Genshin, but again, it seems like the other team is what's listening to us, not the team that we're actually wanting to. I don't know. The third point is anniversary improvement. And I feel like what they did with the Lantern Rite really kind of felt like a slap in the face to like majority of the people who played the game that's been playing the game for a really long time. Because to support a game for about 4 years almost, just to be told, oh, well, you're only gonna get 3 for those 3 years that you've been playing the game. We're gonna give you these 3 wishes that aren't even gonna get you anything but a blue weapon. It feels more like a slap in the face than actually saying, hey, thank you. So, I agree with them 100%. And their next point actually involves Lantern Rite. They say that the Lantern Rite rewards should not be better than the birth and birthday of the game. And I have to be honest, Lantern Rite letting us choose a 4-star, it already blows the day that the game released rewards out of the way. Because I think this last time we got like a minion and a couple pulls, and that was about it. There really wasn't a lot. Wasn't a lot. Lantern Rite really crushed it. But even then, that's saying something, because Lantern Rite sucked. Its rewards sucked. And I know that the game isn't all about rewards, but how are you going to keep the incentive for your players to keep playing and supporting it? I just don't know. The 5th point, give us an option to save a set. Okay, so artifact loadouts, something we've been asking for. I know they implemented something to do with the artifacts not so long ago, but that is not what we wanted. We wanted actual loadouts. But it seems like they're going to half-ass it because they don't want to be the people to do that. Maybe it's too much work on them. I feel like it would be simple to do, and it would make it easier. Number 6, allow old events to be replayed. Yeah, because again, people who missed old events, I'm not going to touch up on this too much because it's been said, but people who missed old events or just starting the game, they can't claim or experience any of that. Lore is lost and all of that stuff. Like recently with the Fremine, the little event that he had going on. If you weren't playing around that time, you wouldn't know what was happening. With Albedo, if you weren't playing around that time, you wouldn't know what was happening. So yeah, the Razor event that they had. Again, if you weren't playing around that time, you wouldn't know anything about them. The weapon, any of that stuff, if you weren't playing, you just missed out. And if you were playing, and similar to my situation with the first Albedo event, the Festering Desire weapon, I got the weapon, but my characters weren't strong enough to actually do the event in its entirety, so I couldn't refine it. It's basically a weapon that isn't at its full potential, and I feel like they need to bring that back. And I'm glad that this person actually touched upon that because it is needed. Again, this person and the other people. Lore should not be locked behind limited events, and this is true because it leads to situations like what I just said. Abyss needs an in-between. It's either easy or it's being disgustingly hard. And that is true. This current Abyss is actually pretty easy. But then I remember way back we had an Abyss where like they had a bunch of those little concentrated beasts, or those elemental imbued beasts. They had a bunch of them, and it made the event so hard that so many people could barely do it. I, for one, didn't even try it because it was literally just undoable. And I feel they need to change that. Also, the serpent and the Weenut, they shouldn't be in the abyss if they're gonna spend like 90% of the time underground. And this person agrees. So, just saying. Overworld and open world, they feel kind of dead, or just blanketed by oversaturated colors. Let enemies fight each other. More spontaneous emergency quests with better rewards are also needed. And yes, enemies should be fighting each other, like heal each other. Why are they not throwing hands with the treasure hoarders? Why are the Eremites, sorry about that, Eremites not throwing hands with the Batui? You know, they're just all there, just mixed. Within the minute we walk by, everyone wants to gang up on us. You're not all in the same faction, so you should all be throwing hands. I'm just saying. They have some points. They say that the combat is pretty mindless right now, and it stems from not the elemental system, which the elemental system is really good, but it's kind of rooted in the core design, they said, and that bosses in the game lacking interesting mechanics. Most of it, if not all, use some of the same mechanics, like the Weenut and the Ruin Serpent. They have very similar mechanics. All the cubes have really similar mechanics. The flowers have really similar mechanics, despite like maybe a few things. And it's not until like you fight the really unique bosses where the mechanics kind of change, but they're not really groundbreaking. And it would be nice if they had some. Their next point is that the weapon banner needs overhauling. And it does, because the weapon banner is completely garbage. I will stand by this, that the weapon banner is a complete scam and always will be. So, I'm just saying. I shouldn't have to lose 50-50 twice before I'm guaranteed the weapon that I want. I'm just saying. It's garbage. And this new banner system that they got, well, I'll touch upon that in a minute. Their last point says Primo gems from the chests should be increased, not by a lot, but a slight more, because it should be a slight more should be standard for it. It says to add to this, star glitter and things like that should allow us to buy constellations in the shop. Again, similar to what I was saying. So, at least to C2. I'm just saying. At least to C2. So that was all on this part. I will have to get part 2 ready because there are a lot more responses, but this video would have been way too long. It's already longer than I would have been comfortable with, but that's okay. I'm expecting the next one to be long too, and it may end up having to be a part 3, who knows. But I will say that this new banner that they're introducing in the next patch, it's good for new players who might want an older character that might have ran, but you couldn't get. It's good for them. 100% good for them. However, it's bad Because if you're pulling just for constellations and you lose to a character you don't even like a Beto or anything like that, then it's not serving you any purpose. And I guess that can be said about losing 50-50 in general. But you, when the banner eventually changes, if you don't have enough to just get to heart pity, on, just in case you end up losing 50-50, then you're pretty much screwed, because when that banner changes, you lose your guarantee, you lose the point that guaranteed it, and then say for instance you are a 10 pull away from your guaranteed character that you were trying to get. Well, you lose that point, you keep your pity, so you'll be a 10 point away from the 5-star, but you're gonna have to rely on 50-50 if that 10 pull can't be gotten on the same banner, because it all resets except your pity. But your guarantee is gone, that point's gone, and the characters change. So your 10 pull, when that banner changes, is literally just going to be a whole 50-50 again. And it's basically using predatory tactics to try to force you into being like, oh no, I need to put money into this so I can get this character because I can't get these switches up in time. They shouldn't do that, honestly. They shouldn't do that. It's predatory. None of these quality of life things that we've been asking for are being put into the game. And it's almost like they're purposely ignoring it. I won't say they are, because at the end of the day, they have a person over them who makes all of their decisions that they can and can't do. But it seems kind of like the devs for Genshin are more so just treating this game like it's project, like a pet project or an experimental test. And you're just like, oh hey, let's see how this works in this game, and if it works good, or if we get good feedback from this game, this little thing that we put into this game, then we can apply the actual way that we want it done in the next game. And I'm very concerned when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero, because I feel like what's going to end up happening is that not only is Starro pretty much crapping on Genshin and pushing it out of the way, Zenless Zone Zero is going to do the exact same thing, and it's going to crap on Genshin, and it's going to push it out of the way. I hope I'm wrong, but it just feels like they're treating Genshin as a way for them to gather all the feedback that they're needing for their future games, while putting the bare minimum in Genshin, but just enough to make sure that the game can kind of stay relevant and keep players constantly trying it. Now, I do hope I'm wrong, because this game has so much potential. It can grow, and they still have time to save it. But at some point in time, they're gonna have to start wondering, where are our players going? They're gonna end up wondering that, because eventually, people are going to stop trying this game. They're not gonna be like, oh hey, this is a cool anime game, because guess what? You have competition coming. And I am hoping that those games are really successful, because you have Wuthering Waves coming, you have Project Mugen coming, and both of those games are open world. Yeah, they take place in different kind of settings. Wuthering Waves is more of an apocalyptic kind of thing, and Project Mugen is going to be more urban, city-ish styled. And at the end of the day, though, they're both open world games. And you, being Hoyo and your devs, you're going to want people to keep coming to this game. Now, those games aren't going to pull everybody away from Genshin, because Genshin's gonna have those people who are loyal to it, who love the lore, who probably even play all three. I'm gonna be a person who plays all three. But there are going to be people who completely quit the game and move on to one of the others, because this game just isn't doing it for them. Their feedback isn't being heard. They're gonna go to a company, or not a company, but a game that's actually listening to them and actually putting what they want, putting what they want in mind and putting it into the game and making sure that the game is better for them so that they can keep playing and feeling incentivized to be like, oh, you know what? Let me support this game. Let me make sure that they keep going. Let me make sure that they grow so that I can keep my enjoyment going. If Hoyo doesn't start doing that for Genshin, then it's going to be playing to a very significantly smaller player base. And judging off of what I've seen, there are a lot of people already that are looking at this game and are like, yeah, I can't wait to replace you. Yeah, it's a mobile game. It's not meant to be played for a very long time, but at the end of the day, you gotta be able to make it something better than what it is. A game is supposed to improve over time, especially one of these kind of games. If you're not improving, you're doing something wrong. But that being said, I think I'll end it here, and I'll try to get part 2 of it as soon as possible. But until then, thanks for watching. Consider liking and possibly subscribe. Even put your opinions down. I'd like to hear it. So, if nothing else, catch you next time.